This is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
Welcome into ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. I want to say welcome. Thank you for joining us on a good old Friday. And we thank you for making us your first listen of the day. And remember, we are free and available wherever you download your podcast and wherever you download your podcast. Make sure you leave us a 5-star review. We are wanting and needing those things because everybody else can find out about us. You don't want to keep us a secret. You don't keep greatness a secret. You share, so everybody else can be great. And with the information that they're receiving on a Monday through Friday basis, that's how we do right here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Now, the Braves lose last night. Oh, what the heck did that mean? I don't know about you, T, but I was feeling some type of way last night watching that game. You can see the cracking in my voice. We got to talk about it. We can't run away from it. And half ATL Day Ones went to Flowery Branch today. We got some observations, some rapid fire questions. We're going to talk about the Atlanta Falcons. And last but not least, in for the culture. Tyler Perry out here cutting checks like that. Ooh, we'll talk about all that. But first, T, like I mentioned before, Braves lose 6-4. The guy who was saying the right choice and he was the right guy to be on the mound, Kyle Wright, it just didn't quite work. And it ended up being wrong. 4 home runs. That hasn't happened since Drew Smiley was on the team. Remember Drew Smiley?
Right. Remember him?
We were like, don't run him out there on the mound anymore. But Kyle Wright struggled last night. And it just didn't seem like the Braves were just ready for what they walked themselves into in Gotham.
That is a perfect way to say it. I felt like when watching the game, the Mets treated it almost like it was a playoff game, like maybe, an elimination game, if you will. That's the kind of intensity that they brought. And granted, you're in Citi Field Stadium, so of course they're going to have their fan base behind them. But it just felt like that where the Braves kind of walked into it like, oh, yeah, we're going to be good. We're all good. Well, no, because the Mets are dead set on this season, showing everybody that the Mets are not going to met. They're dead set on it. They showed you when they came to town recently, and now they're showing you at home. And one of the things that concerns me is this. The teams have met up now 8 times, right? And there have been 30 runs scored on both sides. But those 30 runs are not equal. That math ain't quite mathed equally because 5 of those games have been won by the Mets. So the Braves have got to wake up and understand that you cannot keep giving these games away, especially when you look at the fact that you just split a series with the Phillies that you could have easily won.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And when you think about what we saw last night, right? We talked about Kyle Wright struggling, but there seemed like for just a quick second when Ronald Acuna slapped that bad boy down center field, I was just, oh my God, yes, you can see the elation, almost like relief on his face as he's running around the bases and just like, oh my God, thank you. It's about time. It's been a long time since I've done this.
July 8th, to be exact.
Right. Early July, and here we are talking about almost dang near a month later. So we're not used to that when it comes to nephew running. And it seemed like that the Braves were gonna try to crawl back into this thing, but I mean, T, for me, like that was something that was really good to see. But I think that is this something that you think that Ronald Acuna may get him on the right track?
Catch me when they're halfway or more than halfway through the series.
Right.
So, catch me then, because you got 5 games to show us if nephew Ronnie is really back. This is just one game, encouraging, definitely encouraging, but then you balance it out with the fact that he struck out in the 7th inning at a critical point where that game could have been tied up. And then it really would have just been, would probably come down to the 9th inning, just to be honest. So that's where you say to yourself, don't know if that was showing that he's quite back, but catch me midway through or at the end of this series, and I might feel a little bit better about it. But he did acknowledge that it's, he does go up and down as far as maybe a little bit of soreness, if you will, or residuals from his injury. But ultimately, it's just a head thing. like whether it's at the plate or out there in right field, it's just a head thing. Once he gets over that hump of knowing that he's back and also just balancing and not trying to do too much, because that's what I felt like when he struck out. I was like, oh, wow, he kind of went back to that guy who's trying to do too much. As long as
Right.
he's just Ronald Acuna Jr., which we both know, Jarvis, is more than enough. He does not have to
Yeah.
be anything but Ronald Acuna Jr. But I tell you what, if the Braves are going to either do one of two things, win this division or end up hosting a wild card game, if they should get into a wild card situation, they're going to need him to return to form.
No doubt about it. And we'll talk about whether or not you talking about those playoffs, right? Can they be real contenders? Based off of what we saw last night, we'll talk about that. But T, first of all, tell the folks about what Bet Online. They got some special things going on over there, and let our know our viewers and listeners about what's going on with BetOnline.net.
Yeah, and it's always interesting to see how things shift, right? And if you want to
Mm-hmm.
know how things shift, say, for example, last week or from June 1st all the way until I'd say the end of last week, betonline.net would have said, hey, we're giving, the lean a little bit to the Braves, if you will. But now the lean may be back to the Mets. Probably going to go back and forth all season in terms of who is going to win the NL East. If you want to know where those trends are, you want to know how to bet, it's betonline.net. That's your number one source for all your betting needs, sports info, sports developments. If you want to know, hey, unfortunately, if some player went down, how does that affect that team in terms of their ability to win, whether that's baseball, football, or whichever sport that you choose. Also, you look at some of those niche sports, MMA, boxing, and golf. There's even information for those sports. And if you like podcasts, which we think you do because you tune into ATL Day Ones every
Rock
day,
with us.
they also have podcasts for, I would say, the beginner, someone who's not familiar with betting but wants to get familiar. Go to that website and it'll have podcasts and all sorts of news for you. So again, it's easy. After you watch us, next stop is betonline.net. Go there on your device, your mobile device, or your desktop if you're at home, and just learn about all the trends, all the action in any and every sport there is, because betonline.net is where the game starts.
No doubt about it. Better go and get started before everybody you get left. How about that? Get started before you get left because betonline.net got everything you need. Now, T, the Braves need to have a better showing because, based off of what we saw last night, I know for me, it just looked like the Mets they knew exactly what they were getting themselves into. They was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, we have to win this game opener because you can even say that because anytime you're talking about a closer in today's game doing a
Yes.
6-out close,
Right.
like going 2 innings, your closer pitching 2 innings. Yeah,
Yeah.
that lets you know that Buck Showalter and the likes were very serious about this game, and it
Yeah.
just seemed like it was just a playoff atmosphere. And I don't think
Yeah.
it looked like the Braves were kind of a little shell shocked, a little bit. So I think that I don't know how you necessarily change that. I don't know
Mhm.
if it's a conversation or if it's Snicker, sitting down and having one of those type meetings. They've had it
Mhm.
before,
Yeah.
and they end up going on a nice run. But it just
Mhm.
seems like the Mets were just
They're
all
on a mission.
around just better last night.
Yeah, they were on a mission. And even when it got tight or it looked like, okay, the Braves have some life, you look at what Carlos Carrasco did. I mean, he sat down Swanson, he sat down Olson, he sat down Wright. Like he sat down four straight to say, nah, not tonight. And then on top of that, like you said, you had what Edwin Diaz did going out there for 2 innings. First time he had ever done that in his career and just shut any opportunity for a comeback down. So what the Braves have to do is have selective amnesia, right? They've got to
Hmm.
forget that that game ever happened, especially for those that didn't show improve, like Kyle Wright. Forget what happened. Ian Anderson, I hope you didn't pay attention to it. Just get out
Forget
there
about
and
it. It didn't happen.
exactly. Just get out there and do Ian Anderson things like you did last week. And that's the starting point, Jarvis, because if he can do what he did last week and the Braves can give just a little more run support, then this series becomes 1-1. And I like it because at that point, then it becomes the best of three. And then I feel like the Braves have every opportunity to win the series.
I think, all Ian Anderson has to do is think that, hey, Alex Anthopoulos is going to trade for his replacement, and he's going to ball out and pitch a good one, just like we did last time. So yeah,
Yes.
that's what we'll be looking for as the Braves take on the Mets tonight. Was it Taijuan Walker is on the
Yes.
mound for the Mets tonight as well? First pitch is at 7:10. Hopefully, we'll see a different result.
Yes.
But coming up next, though. Like I said, one half of ATL Day One's out in Flowery Branch today. We'll talk about what we saw, and we'll give you a little rapid fire questions. That's next on ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and T, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta.
Welcome back to ATL Day Ones. I'm Tenitra. That is Jarvis. And we appreciate you guys for pulling up on the show on a beautiful Friday in the A. We appreciate you guys for also downloading this podcast wherever you get your podcast and always giving us 5-star reviews, because that's what you do. And we appreciate you each and every time you do it. Also appreciate you for stopping by on YouTube and subscribing to Locked On Sports Atlanta, because you guys are the reason that we're almost at 3,000 subscribers. So appreciate it. Keep it
Thank
coming
you.
and tell everybody else about it. And just like you guys pull up on our show each and every day, Jarvis pulled up to Flowery Branch today, returned to training camp. Can't wait to get out there with him on Saturday to see what's cooking in Flowery Branch. But
Yeah.
Jarvis, when you stopped by today, what was it that you observed? What did you have your eye on? What were your takeaways?
You know what? It was several things. I
Mhm.
got a chance to see the one on ones with the offensive and defensive alignment. Like
Yeah.
that, like that's where my heart feels. I don't care about all that other stuff. The little dudes, Drake London, all that Kyle Pitts, yeah, those are cool and everything. But it's all about the big boys up front and how
Yes.
they get
Yeah.
down. And I think that some of the things that kind of really stood out to me was Caleb McGarry. Caleb
Mhm.
McGarry was looking solid in one
Yeah.
on ones, and I think that that's what you're looking for when we talked about coming into the season about, hey, Jermaine Fetty coming from your neck. Like I talked to
Yeah.
him myself, like, hey, this dude is coming in to try to take somebody's spot, and I thought that Jermaine Fetty he showed
Mhm.
well, and he was making sure he was getting in his sets, and then
Yeah.
when the guy tried to bull rush me, kind of sat down. I'm like, all right, you ain't going nowhere. Once I got my hands on you, you're good. Don't even worry about going
Mhm.
anywhere else. And I think that
Mhm.
that's what you look for when
Yes.
in those right tackles when guys trying to come with those power moves off the edge. So though a couple of offensive linemen stood out,
Mhm.
and also Felipe Franks. Every time I
Yeah.
turn around, he's catching the ball, and beating somebody in one on ones. I'm just like,
Mhm.
wow, okay. It lets you know that this guy's an athlete. And I even talked to
Yes.
Kyle Pitts after practice, and I asked him about Felipe Franks. He was like, hey, he said, me and Felipe and I, we talk every day. And
Mhm.
that's how we kind of do. We critique each other. Even
Yeah.
if it's something that's very small, he said we don't take
Mhm.
it personal. But we fine and tooling everybody. And I was like, iron sharpen iron, huh? He was like, yeah, man, iron sharpen iron. So yeah, really cool to be out there today, and a lot of good stuff going on out with the Atlanta Falcons.
Awesome, awesome. And we are just a week away from the kickoff of preseason, where we will really get to see what these guys are working with when they take on Detroit, the Detroit Lions at Detroit next Friday. So, we still doing a little look ahead to the regular season. We know we're about a month or so away from that, but now we're starting to see more out of these players, at least going into or wrapping up the second week of training camp. So I want to ask you, and you mentioned Felipe Franks, so he might be your answer to this question, but who's more? I'm going to give you a couple of rapid fire questions really quickly, but you know what? Tell you what, before I do that, let me put these rapid fire questions on pause and let you talk about one of your favorite things that you probably needed to get you going to Flowery Branch this morning, and that is coffee AM.
Well, let me tell you, I get my morning started off every morning with a cup of coffee AM. Coffee
Yes.
never tasted so good. It is an Atlanta-based small batch coffee roaster, the best small batch coffee roaster in the entire country. What are you doing drinking anything else? Like, join the club. We're the
Yeah.
cool kids. Like, we drink coffee AM. You should drink coffee AM too. Go to coffeeam.com/locked on. That is the page that you need to go to, because guess what? I'm gonna tell you about it in just a second. But listen to this. I'm gonna tell you just how good Coffee AM is. Like, I'm talking about roasted, current crop, specialty grade coffee. Like from
Mhm.
all over the country, like
Yes.
from Kenya, it's just all these different variations of coffee. Even if you don't
Mhm.
like coffee, they got teas as well. Tia
Yeah.
tell you. T will tell you about the T.
Yes.
Like that makes so much sense, right? You understand what I'm talking about. So yes. So here's what we're gonna do. Go to
Uh-huh.
coffeeam.com/locked on, drop the code locked on, and you're gonna get 15% off of
Yes.
all coffees, teas, and
Love
gift
it.
sets on your first purchase. So yeah, I'm gonna say it again. Go to coffeeam.com/locked on, drop in the coupon code box locked on, and you get 15% off. So go right now. Stop waiting. Stop playing around.
Yes, indeed. And Coffee AM, as you can see, gets you revved up. And you know who else might need to be revved up? The guy that ends up leading this team in receiving yards at the end of the regular season. Now, you just talked about Felipe Franks. You just talked about the competition and the good competition between him and Kyle Pitts and how they drive to get each other going, right? We saw
Mm-hmm.
what Kyle Pitts did last year. You're also hearing people talk about Drake London. Who do you think might actually walk away leading this team in receiving yards at the end of the season?
It has to be Kyle Pitts for me because
Yeah.
when you think
Yeah.
about this guy, now we're talking about a second year guy talking about
Mhm.
helping out a rookie.
Yes.
Now I know for the most part that normally happens, but when you see a guy who is on a certain level comes
Mhm.
coming back into training camp and he's starting to look a little bit better than what he did last year,
Right.
and he
Which was
did some
great.
really good things last year. Now, granted, everybody talk. He knows that he only scored one touchdown this year. So you've seen
Mhm.
the progressions, right? You've seen him working on his route running, understanding what it is to be double covered because he's
Mhm.
going to
Yeah.
still see that. He's not going to see it
Oh,
as much as he
yeah.
did last year, but he's definitely
Mhm.
going to see some this year. So I think that Kyle Pitts is hands down my pick. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he leads the team in receiving yards and touchdowns as well
Yeah.
because I think Drake London's going to be a little bit more of an adjustment period. I know that
Mhm.
may sound crazy, but given the reports of him, and he's been
Mhm.
looking. I got my eyes on him. He's been
Yeah.
looking fine. He's been doing his
Mhm.
thing, but I think it's still going to be an adjustment period. When you talk about rookie wide receivers, those guys, not all of those guys. I know it may sound crazy
Mhm.
now with Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase coming in
Yeah.
and ripping the league up, but
Right.
that just doesn't happen that
No.
often. So I
And a
think
tight
that
end doing it? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's just I'm hold off on Drake London, let him
Mhm.
get
Mhm.
adjusted to the NFL, and
Yeah.
let Kyle Pitts eat because I think he's primed and ready. Whoever's at quarterback.
Yeah, and with all everything that has happened in the offseason, just in terms of Julio Jones moving on, and then of course Calvin Ridley and his situation, first with being out because of some mental challenges, and then
Issues,
being
yep.
out
Mhm.
this not coming back at all this season. You
Right.
really do. I still think it's good for the Falcons that they have such an embarrassment of riches in that we're actually having this discussion. And it doesn't have to be just one. There's a possibility that somebody else could be leading this team in receiving yards. That's exciting for to me. That should be exciting for the Falcons in terms of what they can get out of their passing game. Now let's switch gears, and this has been an interesting one as well. And you and I talked, we alluded to it yesterday because of course we were talking about the Hall of Fame game and whether or not we are going to see the big stars. And we knew Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne were not going to play,
Right.
but we also knew that there was a possibility maybe that we'd see Foye Oluokun, and we talked about the fact that, hey, that was a guy that the Falcons lost, meaning they lost their chief and lead tackler for last season. So, that being said, who is that guy who you believe will step up this season and possibly be the team's leading tackler?
Wow, I would probably have to say Rashawn Evans, right? Because when you think about, I thought about Michael Walker, but
Yeah.
I think that that'll be my sneaky sleeper homer
Hmm.
pick.
Yes.
All three of those things, not just one. All three of those sneaky sleeper homer pick. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think I have to go with Sean Evans because he's been in the defense before and
Hmm.
he understands what DMPs wants
Yeah.
from a middle linebacker standpoint. And I think that when you're talking about so many young guys on a squad,
Hmm.
and that veteran presence means something, and I think that familiarity with the defense means something, and
Agreed.
capability as well. Rashawn
Mhm.
Evans is not a slouch. Like he's not a
Right.
bum. He's not an undrafted guy trying to prove himself. He's a guy, high draft pick, and
Hmm.
he's a guy who's done it before in the NFL, and he's getting
Yes.
another chance with a defense coordinator that he's played with before. So I would definitely have to go with Rashawn Evans on that one.
Yeah, I can see that as well. And we don't know how many reps, how many opportunities Michael Walker is going to get because
Right.
John Jones and his situation is still kind of up in the air. We don't know if
Yeah.
he'll be used, how he'll be used, et cetera. And that could dictate a lot of the opportunity for Michael Walker to be in situations where he can actually have that type of impact. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. We'll bring you guys more rapid fire next week, just ahead of that Lions game. But when we come back with For the Culture, we'll talk about somebody who got her flowers when she deserved them. And we'll talk about somebody else who doesn't deserve anything close to flowers. We'll do that. We'll talk about it on the
Final segment of ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. We want to say thank you for rocking with us throughout the entire show. Man, we just been thank you. We just want to continue to just say thank you all because I know a lot of people say it, but I really, really mean it when I say it.
Mhm.
Really, really mean it when we say it because you guys have been rocking with us from day one right here on ATL Day Ones.
Mhm.
And we really appreciate you for that because we're almost at 3,000 subscribers. We're trying to get there before the season starts. We need your help. Keep
Mhm.
doing it. Keep liking, keep subscribing, keep leaving us those 5-star reviews on all
Definitely.
audio platforms. We appreciate you for that as well. Now, but T, this is For the Culture. It is the intersection between sports, entertainment, and the culture. And sometimes whatever the hell we want to talk about, because that's just how we get down, T. Man, Tyler Perry just is a guy that, he's a trailblazer.
Yeah.
He's a
Yeah.
guy who has always just been able to figure out how to get things done
Mhm.
if he can't get the necessary backing that he wants or feels
Mhm.
that he deserves.
Mhm.
And he's given a lot of black folks jobs. I mean, just
Yes.
gonna keep it,
Yes.
let me keep it a buck right now. So I think that this kind of aligns with what he's done and
Mhm.
what he's continued and looks like he's gonna continue to do that. Now we
Yeah.
know Miss Cicely Tyson, passed away, but we learned that um he had a special gift
Yes.
for her, in a pretty small role, basically a
Mhm.
cameo role, right?
Mhm.
And said he paid her 7 figures for the
Yes.
deal.
Yes. Paid her a million.
God,
But it
wow.
was so amazing for him to even think to do that. And you know what it reminded me of? It
Mm,
reminded me of when the Bulls, because this was a big deal back in the day, when they
right.
paid Michael Jordan 36 million for a year. And the reason
Yeah.
they paid him that was
Unheard of at that time.
right, exactly. Now, now it's just no big deal. But back then in
Right.
95, 96, that was huge. But it was
Right.
done because all of the years that he had given them, all the championships that he had given him, and they weren't able to or didn't pay him what he was worth. They just wanted to honor that. And this kind of reminds me of that because Cicely Tyson is one of those people who she did something that is unheard of in Hollywood. Normally, you ascend in your earlier years and then it kind of trails off, and we still treat you like an icon, but you kind of don't see or hear from you. Cicely Tyson was everywhere. Cicely Tyson was still winning
Right.
Emmys, still getting nominated for Academy Awards until she was out of here, I think at the age of 94. And
4,
so
yeah.
to think that she was so vibrant right up till the end and that she was honored by the Academy and also that she's been giving her flowers over and over. And I just want to say this real quick as well. She's the type of person, who would walk in a room and just kind of command things with her presence, right? Had an opportunity to and when I say bypass her, I do mean bypass because she has a middle school in East Orange, New Jersey, where I used to live. And we used to have meetings there. Of course, she is my soror. So we used to have meetings there, and it
Mm,
was amazing just to see. But also the story behind this Legends Weekend that Oprah did some years ago was
yeah.
that she had done a party or something and inadvertently left Miss Cicely Tyson off the list. And when she
Mm,
realized the error of her ways, she put together an entire weekend, a Legends Ball, and all of this to honor Cicely Tyson. That's how
wow.
much she has meant to so many people across the time. So shout out to Tyler Perry, and as per his usual, Jarvis. When do we find out about it? Way after the fact, because
Yep.
he's never about getting those accolades. He's just about, like you said, making sure that people are taken care of.
No doubt about it. And that's the type of thing that when you're talking about giving people their flowers and
Mhm.
while they're living, and I think
Yes.
that's kind of the epitome of it, right? Because she had a lot of roles, and I'm sure
Mhm.
she was underpaid in the first
Yes.
beginning part of her career. Given her age and the
Yes.
times that she came up in
Mhm.
from an acting standpoint, and
Sure.
just to just to be honored in that way, just like
Yes.
financially, because we like talking about honor people, giving people awards, but sometimes people
Hmm.
just it's okay to just say, hey, here's $1 million, like just for just being who you are. Like,
Yes.
you know
Yes.
what I'm saying? Like that concept is just amazes me. And
Yes.
then for her to be able
Yes.
to do that at a late age is like unheard of.
Hmm.
And like only thing I
Yes.
even can think that can probably compare is Betty White,
Hmm.
but she's
Yeah,
still
that's a good
not
one.
to that,
Yeah.
like that level. Like when
Hmm.
like you said, Cicely Tyson walks into a room, it's just like,
Yes.
oh, that's Cicely Tyson.
She,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
she has
Everybody
arrived.
chill out, everybody be
Yeah.
quiet, and listen. Just want to just listen to what she has to say. But we definitely honor her and thank her for her contributions to the acting world as a Black woman and what she's done. But I don't know how I
Yeah.
segue out of this, T, but
Other than to just say it.
it's just saying,
The
Iman
president did
Shumpert.
not make contributions to bettering society with this foolishness.
ATL day ones is about to dunk on you. Oh my goodness. Iman Shumpert got arrested in the Dallas airport. T, the man had 6 ounces of weed on him and a Glock magazine.
Right.
Stuff where you keep bullets in. Like, why you got the magazine in your book bag, bro? And you ain't got the gun. Like, honest, I can kind of understand you got the gun, but you just got a
Yeah.
magazine with bullets
Yeah.
in it. Like, I'm tripping. Like, oh, and it happened over the weekend, so he's been arrested.
Mm-hmm.
And the police report states that they found him with a Glock magazine, had 14 rounds in it, and a little bit over 6 ounces of weed, but they didn't find the weapon. They didn't find the weapon in his book bag, and I'm just like, dude. And I was literally, I'm a fan of the show, The Shop, like,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
Iman Shumpert is a character on the show, and I'm just like,
Hmm.
I'm not sitting up here saying he's the greatest actor in the world, but I believe his character. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's what all you ask for when people get into acting and
Right.
everything. Like you just want to be able to believe their character,
Hmm.
and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I can see Iman Shumpert playing that, and he's been doing a pretty
Hmm.
stand up job. And now
Okay.
this fool out here walking
Right.
around with 6 ounces of weed. Why you got all the weed on you, man? Like wherever you're going, I'm pretty sure you can get your hands on it. Like it's especially given who
Right.
you are.
Yes, you
Yeah,
are
I don't
that
get it,
guy.
T. Like,
Yeah,
help me out here, because this
and it
dude,
was
man.
also confusing to me because I only know kind of the good side of him, right? Meaning
Right.
he's married to Tiana
Tiana Taylor, yeah.
Taylor, and they
Mm-hmm.
have 2 kids, and life is great. And they're always like squad goals for people because it just
Right.
always has been a positive representation of Black love. And then he was on Dancing with the Stars and did very well on that show. Just a nice little wholesome little
Doing
show
his
or
thing.
whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay. And now, like you said, he's made a transition into acting, and hey, he's solid. So why would you go this route? I will tell you this. I cannot wait for TMZ or somebody to unearth what the heck this was all about because I
Right.
never thought I was going to give this dude like dumb criminal anything. Like that just
Mm-hmm.
never crossed my mind. I didn't put him and dumb criminal in the same sentence, but I tell you what, he has now put himself in the dumb criminal sentence. But the sentence that we hope we are talking about on Monday is the sentence of Braves win, Braves win, Braves win. That's a
Raise
sentence.
win.
And we hope to
Yes.
have that sentence for you guys on the other side. And also, we're going to talk to you guys about any and everything that's going on this weekend in the world of sports. We'll recap it on Monday for you. In the meantime, you guys have a wonderful weekend. Thanks again for stopping by. And hey, if you guys happen to pull up on training camp, Jarvis and I will be out at Flowery Branch tomorrow. Say what's up.
Please do. Y'all come back now, you hear, on a good old Monday.